Team South Africa is still hard at work at the 54th World Economic Forum in Davos, and I'm joined right now by the CEO designate of FirstRand, Mary Vilakazi, who is currently the Chief Operations Officer at the bank. Thank you very much for joining us, Mary. It's not your first time at the World Economic Forum, and it was interesting this time around the conversations that were there around jobs, around the responsibility of the private sector to invest in job creating industries. Let's talk about the jobs part in terms of what's needed for a country like South Africa, which has one of the highest unemployment rates in the world, above 30%.
Thanks for having me, Xolani. And I'm pleased that actually you are choosing a topic that I think we need to really give a lot more focus, which is jobs. The number of young people unemployed in South Africa, I think it continues to be a cause for concern. And do we have resources? Do we have what it takes to be a more productive economy? And I think an economy that includes a lot more people in terms of jobs. Absolutely. So, I think when it comes to investments, we know money goes where it's treated well. Investments tend to go to countries that have got policy certainty, that have got transparency, and that use the money wisely. And I think if I look at where we are in South Africa, what are the opportunities that we have? So the opportunities we have, I think, have come from the shifts we've seen in energy. I think the private sector has come in quite significantly to provide or to step in for Eskom, and I think the private power generation that the private sector is investing in comes with a lot of foreign direct investments in certain instances, a lot of investments from some of the corporates that have been sitting back in the last decade because of low confidence in our economy. So I think that's going to be positive for the economy. And I do think that the continued move by the public sector to allow private sector to participate, to bring in about the capacity to fix our logistics issues with rail and the ports, all those come with jobs. And I think the jobs are not going to come from large corporates really setting up, but they're going to come from small, medium enterprises. So, those are businesses that I think, when the engine of the economy is not working, that's not firing. But actually, when that works, they create a lot more jobs. That's actually where young people also are able to participate in parts of a value chain. And again, as banks, we can look and say, okay, we understand that overall these businesses are enabling production of, they're producing a component that's going to be in the production of the energy cycle, and we can look through and say, okay, we know that they'll ultimately get the money that they are borrowing, and we can lean in and support those businesses. So I do think the continued reforms that are taking place, where government starts stepping away a bit and allow private sector to come in. We are fortunate that we are a country where there is investments to be made. I think it was always around the regulation and the legislation. And then again, we need to make sure that our education is producing students. I think today the country celebrates matriculants results, but I think without maths and the ability to solve problems, if our kids just really do subjects just to get through school, it becomes very difficult, I think, later on when we then have to talk about jobs. So I think, the pressure on the education system, pressure on parents to just make sure that the kids are actually doing the hard things. Because one of the topics at the World Economic Forum is just the pace of artificial intelligence, technology, how, I think if you listen to some of the countries that are leading, Kenya, for instance, I think they are doing very well in terms of making sure that they are providing an enabling environment where they attract, Google has set up, has invested in the country, utilizing a lot of the skills that they have. So it comes back again to policy certainty, making sure that you're investor friendly. What is happening in Kenya should not really have happened, should have happened in South Africa first, or should also be happening in South Africa, but we're not positioning ourselves in that way. But again, if they were to come, if our schools haven't produced the kids with the skills, that also becomes a problem. So yes, I think in short, government really enabling private sector to invest and participate. I think that brings about employment, and I think just really making sure that as a country we are an attractive destination for investments, and I think for skills.
Your impressions of WEF 54 in terms of the engagements that you've had and the importance of this theme of rebuilding trust?
I think rebuilding trust is applicable in so many facets of the world today. In particular in South Africa, I'll go back to the importance of that private-public sector partnership. Our economy can really do much better than it's actually doing at the moment. And I think that partnership, rebuilding trust, is a significant theme for us. And across the world, I mean, I think globalization is certainly a theme of the past. I think if you look at the tensions that the U.S., China, Taiwan, how Europe is positioning itself, what Russia's invasion of Ukraine, I think and then now we've got the Middle East. So you look at all of that and you realize how insignificant South Africa and Africa are. So it's our responsibility for us to put ourselves on the agenda. And I guess one can forget about the importance and I guess the opportunity that lies from a really strong Africa continent, trading with each other, working collectively to make sure that we're not exporters. We don't continue to be exporters of our natural resources, but really actually just investing in one of the other African countries to make sure that they manufacture and that they start being exporters of goods that we can also buy. So there's I suppose what I'm saying is that as the world focuses on becoming, I think the theme they use is more resilient, less dependent on some of the countries, and I think they reference China in that regard. There's an opportunity for us as South Africa and as a continent to become, I think the new place where some of these countries start, having trade relations with. So that's an opportunity. But I think the untapped opportunity really is actually what we can do on the continent and position ourselves, like Indonesia has done. I think some of the other countries, India is stepping in to fill in that gap quite successfully. So the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement holds great promise for that, because I think as a region, if we can be better coordinated economically, then we get to benefit. Okay, then we can be at the center of the conversation, and not only just when we discuss aid or development finance.
Lastly, you are the next CEO, or the CEO designate, I should say, of TEM. What's in your in tray when you walk in there? Your ideas are probably something that you can share with us. You are probably excited to get a promotion from COO to CEO.
Yes, excited would be a very strong word, but I feel honored. It is a privilege to lead a group the size of FirstRand, and particularly when I reflect on the importance of I would call FirstRand an institution, because we're large and I think we are a big systemic player in South Africa, and our role is also significant on the continent. So I really think it's a privilege to be able to lead an organization like FirstRand. Fortunately, Xolani, Alan hands over to me an organization that is in good shape. I've been part of the team, I've been part of the executive team, so a lot of the strategies that we are working on, I've had an opportunity to shape, make input in. Some of the leadership positions, some of the new leaders that have been appointed over the last 5 years, I've been part and parcel of the panels that has selected them. So I'm quite fortunate that I don't have to, when I start or when I take over, it's not, that I've got like a long list of changes. I think my big responsibility is to make sure that we continue. It's a smooth transition. We don't lose momentum. and that I think in a couple of years that FirstRand is the gem that it is today, that I think it is a business that is more resilient, that has grown, delivered, continue to deliver to shareholders, then continued to really deliver to our customers, enabling some of the finance teams that we have spoken about, making sure that ultimately the economic benefits in South Africa are unlocked, and that we've played a valuable role in society. So.
Mary, thank you very much for your time there. Mary Vilakazi, the CEO designate at FirstRand Group, saying that she is a strong supporter of backing small and medium enterprises in order to create those jobs and unlock the economic potential in South Africa. Looking forward to her tenure there. For Newzroom Afrika on Channel 405, I'm Xolani Mbanjwa in Davos, Switzerland.